Grandsax only attacked the capital one time. This started the war with the Ancient Dragons. Allegedly. It most likely took place during the Liurnian Wars. This began a bitter war between the Erdtree capital and the Ancient Dragons. While this all seems very straight to the point, I think the thing that stumps most Tarnished is how and why Grandsax did it. So, hear me out. I'm Moxie, and this is Heavy Speculation. The following theories will definitely be more crackpot. As per the title of the series, sometimes there won't be a ton of evidence. However, I feel like the Souls community needs more fun, speculative theories to chew on. This series is just getting started, so if you like Elden Ring lore, remember to subscribe to the channel. It's free and it helps a ton. Let's start with what is known about the Ancient Dragons. Gravelstone Seal. Sacred seal made from Gravelstone, thought to be an ancient dragon scale, enhances dragon cult incantations of the royal capital. The worship of the ancient dragons does not conflict with the belief of the Erdtree. After all, this seal and lightning itself are both imbued with gold. The first thing we can establish is the ancient dragon worship and the worship of the Erdtree are both imbued with gold, which could mean that they have grace depending on how you look at this. The Gravelstone seal also matches the scales on Placidus Axe. Our Tarnished can investigate a peculiar scene in Fair Missoula. There are runes to loot on some of the human corpses left here. I'm not sure if this is trying to depict a struggle between the Beastmen and these humans who allegedly were a part of the capital's ancient dragon cult, almost as if they're trying to run out with the secrets of the ancient dragon cult before anyone noticed, and were slaughtered in the act, regardless of the scene in front of us. The precious item on one of these bodies is the Ancient Dragon Prayer Book of the capital's ancient dragon cult. A lost tome that never reached the lands between, contains red lightning incantations. Now, the part where it says never reached the lands between kind of implies it was intended to reach the capital. Perhaps these were aristocrats who were studying ancient dragon incantations under Beastmen. Off a body on a balcony nearby is Rune 12, grace that dwells within the inhabitants of the lands between, the lingering residue of gold, used to gain many runes. The grace of gold blessed those who were first to serve it with the most vivid coloration. Then, looted up a body next to some Beastmen skeletons, there are Gravelstone bolts, described as bolt tipped with the shards of Gravelstone, deals powerful lingering damage, used by worshippers of the ancient dragons. And Gravelstone is a small clump of shard, pointed stones, material used for crafting items. Such compound stones found in the lands between, once beset by ancient dragons, are said to be the scales of those very beasts. One of those very beasts is Placidus Axe, the first Elden Lord. The Dragon King's Crateblade, piercing Gravelstone sword containing the primeval lightning, a portion of the Dragon Lord's power, gained from a remembrance. This weapon commands great power over Paltry, mortal dragons of today. Unique skill, Thundercloud form. Temporarily transform into a red thundercloud and fly through the air. Then plunge down with a lightning-infused blade. Hold to increase the reach of the thundercloud form. One of the things Placidus Axe does is the thundercloud form. It goes off and reappears in the thundercloud. This is somewhat reminiscent of the move that Radahn performs. Regardless, the important thing to take from this is that the weapon causes the wielder to temporarily turn into a thundercloud, and that the blade becomes charged and lightning infused. Keep this in mind as we move forward. Godwyn was born sometime in the early Erdtree era. It's not clearly defined when. The Carian Academy is established, then Malekith seals destined death, and the Golden Order forms. Map of Leyndell, Royal Capital. Map of the Royal Capital of Leyndell and environs. Leyndell, city of the Erdtree, is a metropolis enclosed by double ramparts. The inner wall remains unbreached to this day. Leyndell was built, but something here is off. Maybe it's the giant dragon in the room, Grandsax. What would cause him to attack the capital in this manner? Ancient Dragon Lightning Spear, a secret incantation of the ancient dragon cult, creates a spear of red lightning and stabs it into the ground above. On impact, the spear will burst into trails of lightning, covering the area. Spoken of in legend, red lightning is the weapon wielded by ancient dragons. Ancient dragon lightning spear. Unique skill. Ancient lightning spear. Imbue the armament. Imbue the armament with the ancient dragon's red lightning, then throw it as a spear. Can be charged to increase its power. Incantations that channel the power of the ancient dragon Fortisax. Creates 2 spears of red lightning and stabs them into the ground from above, one after another. On impact, each spear will burst into trails of lightning covering the area. During the War of the Ancient Dragons, these twin red lightning stakes were the hallmark of one ancient dragon who was called the mightiest boulder stone. To me, it seems like there's something weird going on with this red stuff. Perhaps the astrologers on the mountaintops of the giants gleaned some of this knowledge. Maybe they tapped the primeval current, an ephemeral silver that gives off a pale amber glow. What remains of a passing flash of starlight? If the stars command our fates, then amber-hued stars must command the fates of the gods. Such is the belief that inspired the use of these shards to prepare a most special draught, cannot be consumed by mere humans. The eldest primeval sorcery, said to have been discovered by an ancient astrologer, a sorcery of legendary status, summons a dark cloud of stars overhead. Shortly after, the cloud will release a violent deluge of star rain. This sorcery can be cast while in motion. Charging increases potency, thought to be the founding glintstone sorcery. The glimpse of the primeval current that the astrologers saw became real, and the stars amber rained down on this land. And this might have pissed off the dragons. Grandsax's bolt, spear whittled from the weapon wielded by Grandsax, one of the legendary armaments. A great ancient dragon, Grandsax, once rained down calamity upon the royal capital, the only time in historical record that Lindell's walls had fallen. This marked the dawn of the war against the ancient dragons. An incantation of Erdtree worship greatly increases the damage negation for caster and nearby allies. Hold to continue praying, delaying the effect. This incantation was used by the Knights of the Erdtree during the assault by the ancient dragon Grandsax in the bitter war of the ancient dragons that followed. Grandsax started the War of the Ancient Dragons. The general consensus I've derived from the community is that the War of the Ancient Dragons would take place during the Liurnian Wars, the First Liurnian War. Radagon's glory burns as red as his hair. The Second Liurnian War. No victory for the Golden, nor the Moon. No prize but atonement. The birth of a vow. What if this is alluding to Radagon being driven from the capital and being forced to figure something out? This definitely explains the rushed marriage, if you ask me. Their motivation? To unite in opposition to the ancient dragons. They needed something, anything, to defeat the dragons. Desperate? They both took their vows. This also explains why the capital would be pushing into Volcano Manor territory. The assault on Volcano Manor. The squalid, the sick, the blasphemous. A wretched, unending war with no glory. Gravelstone is also found here, which could explain an alternative motivation. Perhaps a genocide of the ancient dragons. Not too sure about this one, but it does explain why the dragons would be angry enough to attack Lindell. There are more possible motives though. Let's continue. Near the Stormcaller Church, the routing of the ancient dragons, Godwyn the Golden fought to the last, earning the friendship of the dread Fortisax. Here's the Japanese translation from Mubedo and his community. The ground of the ancient dragon war, Godwyn the Gold fights valiantly, becomes comrade to the ancient dragon Fortisax. Today I learned, routing means to get got, kid. Some of the ancient dragons lived. Some of the corpses of the ancient dragons were crafted into powerful weapons. The Dragon Greatclaw, weapon said to have been whittled from the claw of a great ancient dragon, wielded by grotesque tree sentinels who yet serve the Erdtree. The claw is enwreathed with lightning, and tears through the dragon's feeble descendants with ease. Dragonclaw Shield. Great shield said to have been whittled from the claw of a great ancient dragon, wielded by grotesque tree sentinels who yet serve the Erd Tree, imbued with lightning. They had other ways of combating the lightning as well. Incantation of Two Fingers Faithful. Increases lightning damage negation. This incantation can be cast while in motion. Follow the path that has been set before you, and you will make enemies of all others, the monks, the sorcerers, ancient dragon knights, the scions of gold. Heed me, the lands between offers no welcome to the tarnished. Okay, so there's this one item that I feel like alludes to a second attack on Leyndell because, well, it's brief. Lightning Strike. One of the incantations of the capital's ancient dragon cult. Summons a bolt that scatters and spreads around the surrounding area. This incantation can be cast repeatedly. Ancestors of the modern dragons, the ancient dragons had scales of gravelstone and wielded lightning as their weapon. It is said that they once attacked Leyndell, the royal capital. It's the "it is said" for me, fam. So if we're speculating, and you damn well know we are, the first attack could have ended the Age of Plenty, way back before they shackled the Omen. The Erd Tree once flourished with abundance, yet it was only for a fleeting moment. Such is the course of all life. The tree is split, and this allows us entrance into a hollow tree. While scrolling through videos of trees on fire, as one does, I saw this video by Dylan Anderson.
This guy saw this tree in a forest on fire only on the inside. This tree was struck by lightning, and when lightning passes through the tree, the sappy interior is a better conductor than the wood, causing a fire from just within.
On one hand, this would explain a whole lot of the context of the Lands Between. Explains why the sap stopped dripping and why the tree stopped fruiting. This places the attack by Grandsax much farther back in the timeline, which, depending on how each Tarnished sees the timeline, can be controversial. On the other hand, it could have been a completely different attack, covered up by the royal capital because they didn't want anyone to know that the trees stopped producing sap. But okay. Forget that idea. I have another. But we are really going to crackpot territory. The devs do invite this kind of speculation and theorizing, so hear me out. I was scrolling through the Elden Ring wiki, as one does, and I just so happened to land on the theory page, as one does. It's funny because the question I was pursuing was being posed, but then what they added to this question lived in my head rent-free for a couple of days. Quote, was there a war with the dragons both long ago and after the founding of the Golden Order and the defeat of the giants? Or does the ambiguous nature of the timeline reflect the special association between the dragons and the storm outside of time? This question stayed in my head like super rent-free. Speculating once again. What if the ancient dragons have the power to use the storm outside of time and this is how they charge their attacks? So, like, what would happen if you were to hypothetically plunge an unalloyed gold pole charged with a bajillion volts of powerful primordial electricity into the roots of the tree? For this, I turned to none other than my husband, Charlie, who was a naval electrician. So, Charlie, what happens when a large amount of electricity goes through a golden pole and is plunged into the ground?
Interesting line of questioning. Gold is an excellent conductor of electricity, and wood is not. Gold is one of nature's best conductors, and can keep cool under massive electrical loads. Wood conducts electricity in a more catastrophic manner. Alright, let's keep going. Alright. After the initial damage is dealt by Grandsax's ancient spear, several things happen. The path of least resistance is found through the tree. A flash forms. 300 million volts begins to flow from the trunk, through the roots, and into the earth. Poor conductors like lignin fibers, tree stuff, heat up, combust, and vaporize. If matter cannot evacuate fast enough, an explosion ensues. In less than a second, the transfer ceases. Light fades, and superheated air collapses upon itself in a massive thunderclap. A massive electrical surge like this could create a large incinerated cavern, like the one we enter within the Erd Tree. It's capable of far greater destruction. Any organic compounds are immediately incinerated in a blaze of 50,000 degrees American, leaving a massive chamber, charred and sterile. Charred and sterile. Could anything survive? Ooh.
All right. So, this explanation could lend to why the tree is hollow and split. In addition, it could have laid the ground for Deathroot to take hold. So before we get to all the fun stuff, we have to start with the most boring and middle-of-the-road explanations. So let's talk motivation, starting with the most generic, and then we go to the most outrageous and crackpot. So, all right, Grandsax could have crash-landed in the Leyndell by accident. And this is just funny to think about. Like, Grandsax accidentally started a war because he's clumsy. This point seems easily refuted because he stares up at the Erd Tree, kind of conveying this feeling like, look what I did. There's nothing you can do about it. It's possible it's just an accident, but it could have been a different kind of fumble. Perhaps he accidentally went too far back in time to kill Godwyn, thus slamming into the capital and accidentally starting war. He could have also hated the Erd Tree and wanted to destroy it from within. The desire for Grandsax to attack the capital in this way, perhaps, was the way in which the tyrant Marika was making decisions. And perhaps they wanted to cause mortal harm to the Erd Tree because of what it stood for. It does seem like there was a hierarchy that the humans were blatantly ignoring. The hierarchy being dragons, then beastmen, then humans. Alternatively, there could have been something weird happening with the Newman where they summoned down the meteor showers and broke off Fair Missoula. This would make the dragons very angry, especially if Fair Missoula was once located where the capital was. And it could have been the greater will at play, paving the way for Deathroot to take hold. There could be more, but these were the best I could come up with. Let me know what's on your mind downstairs in the comments. Tarnished. Before we get to my own crackpot theory. Void Tower, 5497. We know the dragons can shapeshift into human form, so that adds an element of espionage to the war. In the first battle in Leyndell, most of the dragons were probably flying down from Fair Missoula over the walls, but some of them could have been posing as human citizens in the city, waiting to strike. This could have been a little bit more difficult for Godwyn to manage, who in his army was an ally or enemy until he befriended Fortisax. I really like this idea of espionage, and like I could have explored that a little bit more deeply, I think, but I feel like that would have definitely come after the Ancient Dragons. No? I don't know. Then from Gotten 339. Honestly, it felt like too much of a vague rehash of Dark Souls lore to me, where I felt the presence of dragons within the lore and the world was explored in a most interesting way, natural way, with the dragons' rule over humanity being a huge point in the lore. I haven't played any of the other Dark Souls games, but it's interesting to know that down the road, whenever I do play Dark Souls, that it'll be more clear. From Asius. My biggest question is, when was the war? There was enough time for a cult to emerge that worships the dragon, but did that happen before or after Grandsax turned himself into a tourist attraction? There was a whole war. What were they doing with the dragon's corpses before? There's a frozen dragon corpse in a cave in the mountaintops, but I think it's actually a modern dragon, not an ancient dragon. I don't know, I haven't checked recently. Also, dragons very clearly have some sort of connection to the storm and birds. Nefeli is almost definitely a part of Godfrey's bloodline, but I also think that implies she of Marika's bloodline. So maybe Vyke wasn't the only one favored by the dragons. Also, whatever foe Godfrey faced at Stormveil was the last one before his eyes lost the grace of gold. So first off, I didn't even know about this cave. It doesn't have arms, so wyvern, right? It has feathers. Like, feathers. which kind of really supports what you were saying. And I had to think about it for 24 straight hours. Yeah, I'm gonna need to keep thinking about it. But really, really crackpot good cooking right there. Regardless of motive, here's what I think happened. The fun part of the theory. Pretend this is Gransax. He would begin his charge in the later part of the war. Maybe they cannot control what happens when they charge this attack. What if Gransax began charging up further into the Ancient Dragon War, then went back in time through the storm beyond time, the Ancient Dragon and somber Ancient Dragon smithing stones. The scale of the Ancient Dragon Lord, hidden treasure of Fair Missoula, strengthens armaments to +10. Nice. The Ancient Dragon Lord's seat is said to lie beyond time. This stone lightly twists time, allowing the creation of a weapon capable of slaying a god. This is in relation to Placidus X, of course. But it's gotta make you wonder, is this what makes the ancient dragons so superior? He dips out of the cloud and slams into the Erd tree, frying the roots and splitting the bark of the tree, hollowing out the tree. Place this event wherever you please on the timeline, but if you ask me, it lines up way too perfectly with the events surrounding the end of the Age of Plenty. This would explain why the tree stopped producing sap. The seals between the Age of Plenty and the shackles that bound the Omen brothers look like a fried tree. I mean, just like visually, look at it. It kind of looks zapped. So, to clarify, he goes into said cloud. Gransax comes out of the cloud, plunges his bolt into the fruits. The strike on Lindell split the Erd tree into what is seen today, a hollow shell of a tree. Now, this certainly was a crackpot idea, but it's incredibly entertaining to think about. I mean, come on, admit it. Like, come on. If you like Elden Ring or other gaming lore and speculation, consider subscribing to the channel. Thank you so much to my channel members. This channel wouldn't be possible without your support. I also have a Patreon if you'd like to help support the channel. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.